Tim gets his board out.
In presidential politics for years, one word said it all.
Florida, Florida, Florida. Let me show you one more time.
Florida used to be an election night toss-up, but now it appears to be ruby red. Former President Donald Trump won Florida twice. The state's governor, Ron DeSantis, fashioned himself in Trump's likeness.
Florida is where woke goes to die.
And in 2022, won re-election in a more than 19-point landslide. And now there are almost 1 million more active registered Republicans than Democrats in Florida.
The border speaks for itself. Inflation speaks for itself.
I don't believe in abortion. I know that it's the woman's right, but it's the right of the baby to live.
A rapid shift from just 4 years ago, when Democrats had a nearly 100,000 voter edge.
How did we get to this point politically in Florida?
You know, it was a trend.
Alex Rizzo is a Republican state representative and chair of the Miami-Dade County GOP. He says 2 decades of Florida Republican leadership met the COVID-19 moment.
We will never do any of these lockdowns again.
We saw all of that come to a head during the pandemic. We had a governor that said we're going to remain open, we're going to look at numbers and science and everything else. You juxtapose that to other states where they had lockdowns and they double down on that.
Rizzo says those policies helped draw people to Florida in a population boom that's still going. Roughly 700,000 people moved here in 2022. Last year, Florida was the second fastest growing state in the nation. But while Governor DeSantis may position the state as a conservative haven, some experts caution that voter advantage is not what it seems at first glance.
That million lead for the Republicans isn't as big as you might otherwise think if you consider both the active and inactive registered voters.
Political scientist Michael McDonald says some of those inactive voters will show up in the fall. But he adds the state still leans Republican, with a new law giving them an advantage.
There's a real challenge here to get these individuals registered who may be in the Democratic coalition. And you're seeing that activity right now in the state.
Democrats hurting under 2023 Republican-backed legislation that cracked down on third-party voter registration organizations that mobilized minority and college-age voters, which tend to vote Democrat, raising fines for things like paperwork mistakes from $1,000 to $250,000. In the Florida Keys, Bert Seiss is part of a Democratic base newly energized, with Vice President Kamala Harris at the top of the party's ticket.
How are you feeling in this moment about your party's chances this fall?
I think we're going to kick ass.
And energized by the belief that Florida absolutely could be in play.
What issues are motivating voters in Florida right now?
Right now, Amendment 4, abortion is on the ballot in Florida.
How big of a factor do you think that'll play in the presidential race here?
I think it's going to be huge. Our freedoms in Florida are being stripped away one at a time. We're over it. Women especially are over it. And that means Republican women as well.
Seiss expects a recreational marijuana ballot measure to also bring out voters.
I think we've got an amazing chance to make it a very, very close call.
My biggest issue has always been equal rights for everybody.
The question now, is it enough for Florida to swing in a different direction? Jesse Kirsch, NBC News, Miami.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.